There's a nice view.
Yeah, we'll see, we'll see. We may take it down if the TV are adequate. Or put it up this way.
Remember, is Kelly authorized to share a screen?
Yeah, that's what he's doing.
Oh, it's over here. It doesn't show up here though.
Turn on the right. Long in.
There's seats.
I didn't want to sit by here.
Well, turn around again. I took a bath and everything for this.
No, that's the one like it's vanishing.
No, it's bad.
Is there a view button on your screen?
So it is full screen on, basically full screen on mine. That's something that Mim will have to do on her.
And can you put, I saw it on the, above there just a second ago, where it says view on the right hand corner.
That's on Memories end.
There you go. You got it.
Any better?
No,
That works for you, Kelly.
It's okay for me. We're just trying to wipe out that side over there. Yeah, there you go.
That better?
Go some more. if you can.
It won't go no further.
go up to where it says view up at the top right hand corner. It's full screen. That's it.
Standard.
There you go. And then bring that, drop that down to where we don't, and you got it. Now you can blow it up bigger.
Big as it gets.
I'm at the. There you go. You got it. Can everyone see that? On the screen, or you want to? If you can see it on the TV, what about you all guys? You all see it?
We got it.
Yeah,
I got it.
Okay. Well, in that case, the reason I'm asking, we'll take the screen down if there's no objections to doing it.
No, I don't mind. I got it right here.
No one's got any objections?
Nancy, are you gonna stare looking up the whole time?
We got paper copies. I don't know actually if I know how to do it. Kelly, can you reach the top there?
I'll turn it off.
Just slide it back in that hole where it's at. We'll take it down.
Everybody close your eyes in the front. You got it. Me? That projector, it hurts if they get your eyeballs.
I hit a button.
Okay. That way it then cools down. It cools down.
Yeah.
It's got to cool off.
Yeah.
That your, is that yours? That might be yours.
I think this all came from my stack.
Okay, all right. I got everything spread out over here.
I just wanna know if they got all this extra money come from the.
Everybody ready? Go through. All right. Get started.
We're gonna start on the summary page up front. And then we'll work deeper into it as we go. The first corner up there, as you can see, is the city revenues and it's per department. Your first line is proposed budget 22-23. Your next line is your projected finish. You see where the current fiscal is over on E and what was budgeted 21-22. So moving down to some totals there at the bottom on your income, you can see that we projected $2,145,794.51, as opposed to what we think the finish is, 1,959,063.22. The first question you're gonna ask is where's the increase coming from? And those are mainly through some grants that we have secured that we have to budget. It comes out almost to the T. So moving down on the expense side of it, you're going to see that's up, and that's up higher than just those grants. Because as I told everyone that we had to get our wage scale up across the board, we were getting to where we couldn't compete with anybody, including McDonald's for our labor. So you'll see that that's been incorporated as we go through the budget. The difference is budgeted should have a budgeted surplus of $8,454.43 on the city side. Does everybody see that? Okay. Any questions before I move on to the enterprise summary? Okay, so the enterprise budget is going to revolve around, as far as being accurate, is the ordinance for the CPI index raise of the rates. So this budget has been figured anticipating that will happen. All of you guys, ladies, have gotten those proposed ordinances. So your income here, you can see last year, the projected finish, or this current year, is actually $1,491,023.29. And the proposed budget's $1,539,002.17. And that comes from that proposed CPI adjustment. The expenses. This is where a lot of our again, most of this is going to be from getting our labor force up to snuff across the board. You know, there's 160,000 more in expenses. You do have in this budget a $25,600 surplus budget. Should this go on? Is there any questions before I move forward? Anything else I can explain any better?
Yeah, I do have a question.
Yep.
And looking at the totals for the enterprise for projected finish 2021-22, 1,491,000. And comparing that to the projected finish of 1,355,000. So the difference, where are we putting that? Are you just using that for the proposed budget?
So any difference in the shortfall? So what you're saying is there should be some more money. And I think that, you know, if you guys have been following, both unrestricted funds have been raising enterprise and in the city side throughout this fiscal year.
This is a budget that doesn't show back, balances in the funds.
Right. I mean, I can generate that pretty easy. I can go upstairs and get that, but it's been on a climb.
Just for clarification, just give a brief explanation what unrestricted funds are.
So unrestricted funds are surplus amounts that are not dedicated by law to go to any one spot. Now you do have your city unrestricted funds, which are pretty well restricted. It has to be spent on city stuff, and your enterprise has to be spent on enterprise.
It's unrestricted in the fact that if something comes up, it can be spent on a water project or a sewer project or.
Right, yes. Okay. So if we have answered that, and guys, I can get deeper if you need to be, but I'm gonna stay kind of high, and if we need to go deeper, let's go. So let's move on to the individual budgets on the city side first. And that would be animal control. As you guys know, we anticipate going through animal control with a volunteer help. Season. So, your income is, roughly the same. We anticipate it's $290 total for your income in animal control. If you go down through your expenses on animal control, you can see that we're, salaries used to be and associated costs for that. It's zeroed out. We do have some money that we have to allocate, some little office and things, supplies, computer, we have utilities paid out there, a little bit for maintenance and improvement, those types of things. We do still have the van, the AC head, so we do still have to pay insurance on it. Is there anything in these line items that anyone?
Unless I'm looking at something different on the expense side, unless I'm looking at. Yeah, I was looking below it up there. Thank you.
So your budget total for this year is 4717. And our anticipated finish is roughly 4825. So, and our budget for last year was $4,330.47.
Like cotton fund floats.
Yeah, it's a little. Yeah. You can go back through if you go over to your right on that cotton fund, you can kind of see, going back to 2021 and 1920, you can go a little further than that, kind of see that it was usually somewhere around 600. Interest must have been way down this year because, it looked like that. I'm sorry, we ain't got the last of that yet, so no, it's gonna be a little higher this year. Sure.
So everyone asked about.
Okay, we're not okay, there's something I'm not changing. Fine.
Off there with.
Yeah. There was a formula in there that.
By the way, should we turn the lights back on if we don't have a projector?
And yeah, if you want to.
Oh, I had to go get my phone.
We're gonna keep it.
Thank you. So yeah, interest was down, so. Yeah.
So for the public, I've heard a lot of people, the city gets a lot of money from the fund, the John Cotton Fund. It runs anywhere from $2,000 to $3,000 depending on
A year.
yeah.
A year. That's what you get. The rest of it's an animal tag and options and those types of things. Any other questions in this department? Let's move on forward. Grounds. So. Grounds, your incomes usually, unless there's a grant or something silly happens, is between 3,000 and 4,000, maybe a little bit more. Where it's at, those come from park rental fees, interest income, cemetery lot sold, and perpetual care, where the main part of that goes. Kind of want to jump into here.
Are there some funds that have been set aside for ground, obviously that are generating the interest income, like
Yes.
a donation, something?
Yeah, there's some trust and those types of things that come in. We'll probably be having a conversation in a month or two. We got a couple mowers that are bad and mechanics said that they're getting beyond, so we may have to kind of trade those in and using part of that, not the fund itself, but what that fund was generating set aside. So could be into that. This is one of the departments that we've had to raise due to NECC not being able to fulfill our contract with the help. Where we were having to get them You know, go pick them up and be able to pay, they help $7.50 a day. Where we're having to staff this the best that we can to pay the staff.
If I remember right, we were starting to have a little bit of trouble keeping that building even before COVID, and with COVID, I guess, knock it down, eliminate.
Yeah, it was tough even for that community. Never met the full extent of the contract, and although we still have a contract, they just said they don't have anybody that qualifies. MoDOT said that they not used them since COVID is hitting and they're not.
So right now, we don't have any, they're not anticipating on providing any.
Right. And yeah, no, you can't budget for it.
Right.
You know, I think that, you know, you go back to, if you look at line G at 1920 on your expenses, you know, you go down through, I think we got that year at 122,000 we were able to operate the grounds. And, you know, now because of having the staff, we're up 365, as you can see. So that's one thing that.
Has the city ever historically done any type of estimate of benefit or looked to contract out mowing services?
They have, but it was the mid 2000s whenever they did. And whenever they did that, they just, the cost to do the cemetery itself was going to be more. And at that time, the cemetery and the parks were separated. And if that bid was going to be more than the expense for the cemetery and the parks combined.
I'm not looking to throw a wrench in the budget for what we got, but I would be interested in seeing just for the cemetery to break it up and see what it would cost. I mean, looking at the overall budget, I know that they do more things than just cut grass. You know, we've got our employees do more things. Right now, how many full-time people do we have in the grounds?
So right now we have 3 or 4. One's been off quite a bit this year. Where it's at. So right now, as we said, we have.
So I'm thinking you wouldn't, my line of thinking without going through and changing staffing levels, you know, 3 guys might be able to maintain the parks pretty easily if we was able to contract.
Well, but I think you got to go back in normal staffing because we've had other people from other departments that have been cutting grass this spring, trying to keep up, and normal staffing for that ground is basically it should be 1 full-time position and 2 more that are kind of what we call seasonal. And then we usually had about 4 more that were just there that usually cut out about October. So, but you know, it's always worth a shot.
Yeah, so I'm not looking to change the dollars on this, but I am interested in just getting a cost estimate of just contracting out the cemetery, and it may be out of the water, but part of that is, let's say it's $3,000 a week, right? Let's just, if it is $3,000 a week, typical contract would be withhold 10% of that weekly until the end of the contract for the year. Then you give them the 10%, in case they leave us high and dry, you know, throughout the year.
No, that's something we're going to do. You talk to me, get together and get it out there and see what happens. Okay, any questions? Any more questions on the ground? Anybody, anything else we want to talk about there?
Gas and oil, is that? I mean, you've got a big time spike and it's
Yeah.
kind of not really showing up. It is on the
And
finish.
that's kind of in department. You know, with the employees being down a little bit, hopefully they can. You know, we can kind of hold it down a little bit, but just have to see. It's gonna be tough. So. Anybody else got anything else?
Your insurance numbers not specifically here, but have you gone through, those are the pretty hard number of what we know is coming in the next,
Which insurance?
just in general, like the line items that you have, for instance, your workers' comp, your health insurance. Do we know, does that renew at the same time?
So what, what we have to do is, our workman's comp comes in, I think around March.
Okay.
Is where that's at, so we pretty well use that number. Something we've been able to, since 2015, we've been able to cut our workman's comp premiums about half. And it's just through some things that we're doing. Where it's at, I think they roughly speaking, they used to be about 120,000 a year, and we've got them down around 60.
Employees helps that too.
For the employee, it's all about the employees. It's all about the employees. We ready to move forward? Code enforcement. So all your income here comes from permit fees and criminal inspection occupancy fees. Where's that? So that generates somewhere around 15,000 to 16,000 in that area there. You have your staff expenditures. Well, something that we really don't have too much, we have a little bit there, is your dangerous building and your operating expenses. We have numerous structures that around that you're need to look at demo. And this number really won't touch everything that really has to be done.
Got a question about the dangerous building fines.
Yes.
Or don't see anything in there for that.
So since they moved, and Charity and Will can correct me on this, I'm wrong, but since the municipal court went to the courthouse, they will not break those fines out for us. Is that correct?
Yes.
So we can't, see, we have no way of telling on our end. We talked to them 2 or 3 times about doing it. Can't get them to break it out. Any other questions on this budget?
What's the percentage just on the raise? You figure
Well,
in, is that across the
Can
board?
we get to the back on that?
Yeah. we can do
Can
that.
we cover all those on the backside?
Okay.
If we can. Economic development, that's also stacked by volunteer help. So, nothing there, no income for it. Where that's at. Pretty minimal. As far as expenses. Any questions on this budget? We budgeted the same as last year.
Yeah, can y'all speak up a little bit?
Right behind your computer.
Let's turn them on.
Thank you.
Live.
Are these turned on, memory, or?
I can hear everybody fine.
Test.
Anything else on economic development? All right, we'll move on to the fire department. So their income comes from some outside contracts that they have with a couple establishments outside city limits that pay them to show up. That's been going on probably about 25 years, where that's at. Down through it, everything looks fairly.
Looks like training attendance.
Say that again.
Looks like the whole for training attendance says 60.057.
Yeah, I think they
Is that
got,
just-
I think they got wrapped up in salary at, is
Yeah.
where it's at, so. And that'll get broke out as it goes.
I hope we're still training.
Right. Goes down on contract work. I have a note. You know, usually there wasn't anything in there and Philip this year. Took some money from some other line items and this is for annual hose and ladder testing.
Under contract work operating.
So I didn't have any problem with that, so. Any questions? No? Okay. Emergency management. So usually this is a department that doesn't have income. But this is one of the departments where we secured the CDBG grant. And those are for, if you guys remember, last year we replaced 2 of our sirens. And we're going to replace one and refurbish another one with this grant. Your utilities is for power to our emergency siren. If you go down to materials, that's just with your grant coming right back out. 46. So anybody got any other questions on this?
Do we have any matching or anything that we had to do? That
So there's a possibility that it could, depending on how the bids come in, that we may have to put some in there, but it's unknown at this time. Whether we
That's how
have
much
to.
we got.
Yeah.
You know what we're gonna try and do.
So whenever the bids come out, there's a statement in there that it cannot exceed X. But if it does, you know, we're gonna have to look at it from there. Hopefully, if it does, it should be $100. All right, no more questions there. Let's look at G&A. Here's the brunt of your income. So I'm gonna go down to the bottom because most of this, I think, is self-explanatory, but if you do have a question about any of the line items in G&A income, let me know. So down at the very bottom, you'll see from reserves, enterprise payment to city. And that's where whenever they ran into all the problem pre 2015, whenever when they found out that they meshed everything together and pulled it back out, they're for the auditors to get right and get us back right. The enterprise has to pay the city back $36,000 a year. I believe that is for, okay, last payment due is September 2027. So that income comes back and the city's operating on that. Now, I also sent the council and the mayor an email on the collector manager for enterprise office. And what we did is figured what's after that 250 come off the top, what enterprises portion would be that salary. So that line up above that from reserves is kind of a reimbursement back to the city to take care of their half of that employee. Does that make sense?
Where was that located? Oh, right above.
They're right above it, line 30. Well, you don't have numbers there, so it's on line 30, so.
What was, I'm not sure I understood fully so this is, the 36,000 was from some past requirement of the auditors?
So what had happened, it would take me an hour, but I'll try to do it in.
Can you point at that 930 on that particular block on your thing, so I can see it on my paperwork?
It's just under our line 40.492.
Right above the green line.
Who's your front reserves?
Just at the
I
end.
don't have it, that's why I'm asking.
Really?
The 7802.
What did we get cut off?
Tim, did you pick up your papers out of your box upstairs?
Yeah.
It's in that one probably.
Yeah, I see it here.
So. And I'm sorry with your question there, just.
Oh,
So going back, so what had happened is, the best that we could tell going back through the forensics, is they put all the money in one pot.
Enterprise and city.
Enterprise and city funds, and it got mismatched, they couldn't figure out whose was what. They initially rose the sewer rate for the sewer plant the first year, which is very common on debt service.
Oh, this,
It was interest only, so they raised the rates to the interest only. Which I believe was 2012, but then roughly 3 years, the principal come up, and they never rose the rates to service the debt service of the principal and the interest together. So there was this huge bleed, and they couldn't figure it out because the pot was together. So whenever we pulled this thing all back apart, when I got here in January 15, pulled it all apart, this is the result of what had happened, that this city was actually subsidizing those payments for enterprise to the wastewater.
Yeah, I think that's enough to understand at least where it came from. Yeah.
so, and we're just now starting that this year.
No, it's been going on since, I believe 2016.
That's why I was looking at previous years, I don't see anything.
I was trying, oh, why that's not there. Charity, what, our history on those payments to the city?
Yeah.
Where did you place those in the other years?
Well, I don't actually enter it in the budget
Oh, that's right.
DAFRON system. So when I pull the budget from the DAFRON system, it's not actually there because it's not an actual budget line item because it's a repayment from, it's similar, it's an asset. So it's not a budget line item because it's not an income or an expense.
That's why there's not an account number associated with it. Okay.
There actually is an account number, but it's an asset account number. It's a 10 point something.
So people feel like there's something wrong property. Maybe.
So if there's nothing else on income. Move down to expenses. Anyone sees anything there that's any questions about?
So. I apologize, again, I got no corrected sheet here, but. Just want to be sure that I'm following along with you.
Well, we had some like replacements on those sheets due to that position change. And our attorney's telling us that because she's a collector, that the city had to pay keep that pay the same to the collector, so that we stay within state statutes, but then give them 250 and raise. So that's what caused us to have to change these 4 sheets later. And I'd already sent the budget out whenever all that had transpired.
So the correct is 492,077 then on the total expenditures.
That's correct. Which is roughly 3,000 higher than was budgeted last year. Any more questions on that? We go to the library. So we had kind of a mandate from the mayor and the council a few years back that they wanted because the city used to subsidize the library. So they wanted to see basically a zero budget come in for them as far as not needing anything from the city. So basically we have to figure out what we believe their income will be and try to make the expense side work. So that, again, budgeted, we're not projected to need anything from the city. Questions?
Do you know what their reserve status is?
I do not. I know they're okay.
Just that's something we need to look into is they have their own taxing authority. I mean,
That's correct.
the city should not have to stuff them.
Right. And I
If they
think
need
that,
more money, they can put a petition out and have the
Right.
citizens vote on it.
and I think that's why they mandated me to do the zero sum budget. Well, you're correct, so.
Kelly, are you wanting to know how much they have in their checking account? Is that what you're?
If they want to know, but I think they have some other than just their checking too.
Right, they have some other CDs, yes,
Yes,
yes.
so, all right, license office. So just kind of a note, state of Missouri raised fees for the license office back, I believe it was in late 19. So I don't know that business is picked up anymore, but if you go back, you can see where we were in for income on your fees, and now we're, in that 60 range for fees, so that helped dramatically. It had come to the point that where we were having to subsidize for license office. But they have the fees have come up enough to where that's not the case, and we're actually able to put a little money back into the coffers of the license office.
Not a very nice contract if you have to subsidize it.
Right now, well, but I mean, they've used it for a while as a service to the citizens when they subsidize them. Where's that? So, we anticipate the income this year at $61,200 and our expenses there at $44,015. So. We should be able, but if everything works perfect, which it never does, but should be able to put $17,186 into the good. Okay. Meeting budget. So our budgeted income there is $213,035. versus budget expense of 553, 673, 54. So I'll field any questions that anyone has on a particular line, or Will or Cherry will.
These lines that say at the bottom, difference from original budget,
Yeah,
what is that referring from, like the
So-
mid-year budget or just the last year's budget?
so what I have to do, so I always look because G&A is the one that supplies most of the pie, right? As far as the
Yes.
income line. So if you look the line above that where it says amount needed from G&A, that's, I'm looking to see how much of the pie that department's having to get. Is where it's at. So the difference from that original budget, if you see from last year, the 326, and this year it's 340. So, you know,
So that's a difference between, so basically that's the increase from last year, what was budgeted last year.
and the incomes also. $95 million. So it's a way to look at how much of their, you know, their, again, how much of that pie they're having to grab.
One department taking more out than last year.
Yeah, to a big amount.
Got a couple of questions.
Yep.
Chief's here, you can probably answer too, but I see, you know, for last year, we budgeted $25 for bond fees, fingerprinting fees, stuff we don't have to eat any of that.
Well, what it is, the bond fee, we don't bond here locally because our officers aren't bonded, so we don't collect money. They bond at the sheriff's department, so we don't charge the fee. That's number one. As for the fingerprinting fees, most everybody goes to electronic fingerprinting anymore. Because when it runs through APIS, it's an automatic submission, the card's good and the information comes back on that. Right now, we do not have the capabilities of doing the electronic APISs. We're in the process with the Highway Patrol right now to get a grant from them for that, and it comes basically out of your biogenetics money.
We don't have no expenses.
Well, our expenses are zero because what we do is we either do the old style based black ink card, which we are allowed to submit to the Highway Patrol and the FBI directly. We have the cost of the cards, but we got an overabundant number of them. We didn't have to purchase anything from that. That's number one. And then number two, usually when we run our state charges, they're actually fingerprinted at the jail through their actual electronics fingerprinting system itself. And usually money that comes in from fee collection on fingerprinting is like for your Pike Lincoln Tech, things of that nature that are going for a licensing board. You're allowed to charge them money for it, and we do not do that.
You're good. The other question I had was just the drug enforcement expense. I see that we budgeted last year 7,500. We don't show anything current on
Which line
spend.
is that, Mary?
Right.
That is for the task force budget.
That's right, and they have not sent us a invoice yet for the year.
60.840-05.
So that drug enforcement money is not us directly, that is the task force, and they have not invoiced us.
So we haven't been invoiced yet.
Yeah, that's, they just haven't sent
Yeah,
them.
we're not gonna end up double invoicing us, you know, send us one in July for last year and this year, coming year.
I would doubt that would happen, speaking to their task force manager, their commander of this area. But I do know that he said they were behind on invoices.
Okay.
You know, we didn't get into depth, and to be honest, he doesn't really get into depth. That's not his area. That's his bosses in Jeff City. But he's relayed that information with us.
So something that is in this budget, and I heard you guys mention, it's the city prosecutor salaries. Is where that's at. You know, and you talked about that 10,000. And I can tell you, I think if my memory serves right, I know that 10,000 in the base salary, I think it's 18,000.
I got someone to so it's not. She's the one to do it, we'll do it.
So,
All right. Which line is that? City prosecutor, actually, 5. 60. 55. It's one of our longer sections.
I think that something I want to point out is because there's some X factors is if you look at 60.645-05, it's equipment payment, place and principal. So that Durango is part of that, but also there is some room in those payments, those two line items, for at least another vehicle, so just pointing that out.
We got some problems.
Right.
So you built in a little bit of money to address some of the problems.
Right. Your principal and interest payment together on that Durango that's already purchased is $5,533.96.
When does that pay out? Run out? Pay off?
Oh my, hang on just a minute, that's right there. So that Durango settled in, we make the payments on March 1st in 2030.
Damn.
Whatever happened with that contract?
So still there, we're waiting, I'm actually waiting on state troopers report, state patrol report. I think we were supposed to check on it today, and then once we got it, we were gonna reconvene and talk about whether we wanted our insurance to handle it or to try to mitigate against the other ones. If our insurance handles it, lose the deductible, $1,000. But if you go to the other side, may get it all, but who knows how long it's going to take to get it. So that's something that Will and I and Tim have touched on, and we're kind of waiting on the state patrol report before we kind of decided exactly
Which way to go?
which way to go.
So, yeah, my thought was to go ahead and submit the claim. If we lose, I mean, whatever our deductible is, our insurance company will subrogate it. They said so in their own letter. So tit for tat, I'd rather see it get replaced sooner than later.
It hopefully sooner.
Let the insurance company go after full payment with the knowledge that
Well, the email I got from our insurance company said that even though they subjugate against us, that we will still not have that $1,000. They will not go after our deductible. That's the email I got. Right.
I mean, I read that too. I read it, maybe I read it a little bit differently than you, but if our claim is $15,000 and we only get 14,000 of it, I'd rather get that 14,000 and start the process to get a new car. I'm just thinking, and then let the insurance subrogate the difference. But
So any more questions on the PD? Not, we'll move on the streets. Or every year, street department incomes, the gas tax, road tax, and so it does that. Your bottom three lines on the income side of the street department basically shows you how we are going to pave the streets that we approved earlier and how that's going to be funded. So that's why the income looks like it's way up, but it's really not. It's just taking out of money that we already have set back in different reserve accounts to be able to pay for the street paving.
what's a COT street? What's that?
So that is money that was in that originated from the Georgia Street side, and they were in different sections, streets, storm sewer, sanitary sewer, water. So we had some left over that, and the way that we wrote the language that we didn't have to necessarily use all that on Georgia Street, that we could use that for any street in town. Just in case something happened, that we did have a little bit of leftover, we could do some other streets.
Little cushion.
Well, right, I mean, we just didn't want to tie it up to the designated routes.
What does the acronym mean?
Certificate of participation.
Thank you.
There you go.
Thank you.
That does make sense. I had a lost thought there. I couldn't think of it.
Absolutely best.
I would have never guessed it.
Not until I looked at my first budget with that.
Anyone see any other line items on the expense side that you want to talk about?
Your street projects covered in that street system.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that 187, right?
Citizen reimbursement for damages.
So, well, usually what that is, because our code says that if the citizen purchases the pipe, sanitary storm pipe, that the city will put it in. And a lot of times what they'll ask us to do is to purchase the pipe, and then they'll reimburse us for the pipe.
You guys get any kind of discounted rate for that? Since we do so much of it?
Usually we can get it a little cheaper than the citizen can. Usually, that's not always the case. And right now with HDPE, I mean, it's just,
Mhm.
it all depends on what hour of the day you call to see if they got it.
So what's our staffing? What's our full-time staff?
So our full-time staff in the street department is half of Dale. Okay? Because he supervises that in distribution, and then 3 other full-time people. So 3.5. Anybody else have any questions for the street department? Move on to health,
It's the mosquito.
and this is mainly mosquito spraying.
Certain age, we call it the
The
fog.
fogger,
Yeah.
God bless that thing.
the fogger, so. You have a little money in for the guys running it in the evening and a little bit of gas money, run the truck. Throw a little bit of something in there in case there's something goes on. Fogger, I mean, usually filters and that type of stuff, and then your materials is strictly based on, what we guess that the mosquito spray is gonna cost for you. Any other questions there? Yeah, okay. So your next sheet is really boring. It is the city debt service and restricted funds unloaded. Now, this is never figured into whenever we get the summary at the front. These numbers, the income and the expenses, it's never figured into those, and you don't want to figure it into those. Because usually you have a bit of a surplus, you don't want to get that confused with actual operating money, right? Because you can't use it for operation. Because it is restricted to what it's restricted to, it's not operations. And it could throw you off pretty quick if you do that. So.
Just a quick question, maybe for Charity, not to answer right now, but looking at our general funds, our 1.5 cent sales tax, can we get a breakdown of what those were originally marked for when we did that? Not tonight, but I'll speak to you later about it.
What was marked for?
Yeah, I mean, the language when they pass, basically.
Is this the general administration?
Yeah, I don't mean to go backward on, yeah, we'll talk about it later, but just, because I realized back in the late 80s and early 90s, there was a 1/4 cent sales tax for public safety. I wonder if that faded away or if that was just incorporated, rolled into this. I just want to listen.
So I think I can tell you real quick what she can do. I think that it had a sunset. I think that it was restricted for a period of time. Then it sunset and rolled in. Is there any questions on this budget at all? If there's not, that concludes the city side of it.
The COP there, is that the same one that we just saw in the streets?
So what you were seeing from there is actual reserves that are already there. It's just sitting there, so that comes out because we have to keep so much reserve, period, to go out and we have to budget our income, right, that we'll have this year. And then if you look down, let me get to it. Yes. Yeah. You have your expense at the bottom, but no, the money that you're seeing on the street will not come from fresh income for this coming budget year. It's already stockpiled for reserve. Okay?
On the income side there, the sales tax income. 35,000. Where were we at, like on the internet sales tax?
So
That watermelon.
I think that I believe that what we're getting now is just what they're voluntarily doing, because although they passed that, I don't think the state of Missouri, was it January of 23, Charity?
I'm thinking that's what
I
it
think
was.
it's
I haven't
January
looked at that in a
23,
while.
because they said they needed time to be able to set it up in their offices and all that, to be able to do that. So starting January 23, which everything lags 6-7 months from there. So roughly probably July or August of 23 is going to be my guess that you'll probably see some more. Does that answer that question?
Pretty close.
Yeah, the Wayfair tax. Anything else here?
So the big thing, the difference this year is we're gonna be to the good on this. $540, just mainly because of the FEMA grants and certificate of participation.
Yeah.
How much is left of the COP?
So of the street, this will close out the street seal. And I believe that the sanitary sewer COP is also closed out. Charity, you remember how much is left in the water COP? Off the top of your head?
I think so, but I don't, I was thinking it was like 40-some thousand.
So when we pull those out and utilize them, we're gonna start paying interest on it then? That correct?
We're paying interest on it
Now,
anyway.
now, okay.
We're paying, it's just money just sitting.
So I mean, in your opinion, it's better to use it than to put it back towards.
Well,
The principle of it.
in my opinion, yeah, it is, because I mean, our infrastructure in a lot of areas is so bad. You know, that. I mean, you can, and you can do just like the streets. I mean,
I got
put
you.
it back in there and we cut down on the streets we're gonna pay this year. Or I'm sorry, we need to pay the streets as we can.
Right. That makes sense.
So, okay. Anything else, guys? We'll move over to enterprise. right. So your enterprise G&A. Actually, most of this income that you see goes right back out like your garbage income. You know, you get 205,000 on that, but then you turn around and pay it, and I think I think it's 5% for billing with it. Of that, you'll see that line item down below. You know, your sales tax, you see it's a big number on here. That's kind of in and out. So a lot of these numbers here is an in and out, your income on this side. Anybody see a line item that you'd like to talk about here?
Well, there's one thing, and this may not be the best time. But, you know, we're looking at being to the good of, you know, about $71,000. And one thing I'd probably like the council to consider is maybe a cleanup day. If it can be worked into the budget.
Right, and I'm with you, but I don't want, because we have some other ones that are higher, so our total to the good of all the enterprise is about, I think, about 24,000.
Okay.
Because some of the others, there's still money there to do that, but I don't want to get 79 stuck in there.
Right. Well, yeah, but that's why I brought it up, because it's underneath this
Sure.
account, but we don't have to discuss it now, but it's something, you know, as far as a big push for cleaning up this town and throwing out some dumpsters, just, I'll drop it there and we'll bring it up there. Council meeting.
Very good. Any other questions on enterprise G&A? Okay, distribution. This is water distribution in our sanitary sewer collection department. As you can see, there's little no income in that department.
So we didn't spend 22,000, are we still going to from the reserves?
Does not look like it.
Do you remember what that was pulled for?
I think at the time when we did the mid-year budget, it looked like that there was going to be a shortfall whenever we did the budget, and we put that in there to basically zero out the budget and let everybody know that it looked like there's going to be a shortfall, but I think we're going to make it without doing it.
Where is this in?
It's the very bottom of the income, under the income.
Oh,
Tax line.
Yeah.
So one thing that I want to cover in this line item is where we have the equipment payment, lease principal, and lease interest. Right now, we don't have anything on lease purchase in that department, but our sewer jetter is not in good shape. We're gonna have to look at something there, so.
What is a general?
So that goes in your sanitary sewer mains. And if there's blockages in there, it opens up the blockages and it cuts roots, those types of things, so.
Was it back in your face?
Spends a fair amount of time out in front of our house.
Yeah, we have.
Something like rides around in the pipe or something?
So, well, it's water and it's hydraulic driven.
water, right? So it's a big hose reel, right? So it pressures it up and usually there's some sort of spinning head on it. You take it on the downstream side and, right, yeah, and you shoot up toward the next manhole. Yeah, well, it is until you have to run it, but that's.
A little bit complicated than running.
Where's that at? On, where am I? Let's look at 65, 645.
Yeah. The vehicle and equipment expenses.
Let me get on the other sheet.
You lost some of the other meetings. We'll have some directions down.
That's
Yeah.
That's a proposed amount to replace that.
Well, that's supposed now for payment.
No, that's what I think.
Yes. That's correct.
Is that set up where it will be mounted on the same
Distribution.
truck?
Well, it's trailer mounted.
There you go.
That's, it's trailer mounted, and I believe that we want to keep the trailer mounted.
Right.
Page 300.
Yeah.
Well, I don't mind that.
That's all right.
Not clear there. One more thing I wanted to bring up just for point of information is on 65750. Large projects need a replacement, so we put in all of, we went to the radio read meters back in the 2000s, early in the 2000s. And we did it in stages for the life of the batteries that send out the signal for that. We're past the life on a lot of these, and we've seen certain sections die. We replaced one of, we have the heads for our next book to replace, so that's on schedule to do, but that big amount there is gonna be for another section of those heads is as those batteries dying, you cannot just replace the batteries, it's sealed battery and you have to buy a whole new one. So that just for me.
I was plugging.
Yeah, there you go. So any other questions in this?
Yeah, there are any people making those things that sell the batteries separately.
Not that I'm aware of. That I'm aware of, because they operate in, rough environment, it's usually damp and all that, so they see them.
I guess that's just somebody get in there and bust their battery and say, was
Yeah, maybe I shouldn't have brought that up tonight. All right, anything else, sir? Did you see? We'll move on to PMP, which is the water plant. So this is where the majority of the water sales are reported. You'll also see down at the bottom grant income. And that's the second CDBG grant that we secured for a generator for the water intake structure.
Is that what do you think that'd be scheduled to?
So I just this afternoon, man, North Grand Regional Council of Governments sent me the notice that CDBG had okayed everything, so those will go to the paper. And I gotta remember it's Wednesday, June. And don't know me too, I've had a lot of numbers today, so. But it's going to the paper probably by next week.
That'll be a standalone
Yes,
emergency generator.
that's correct.
And that's to keep the water plant supplied.
So, right, with raw water.
Yeah.
And the water plant itself has a generator. So, we in 07, December of 07, the ice storm lost power to the intake, and it was tough for a little bit.
Tear some stuff up.
Well,
We just didn't have the water.
well, yeah, it got low. We did enough to get power to it eventually.
I think I was in Chicago, so I wasn't here.
Well, it's good you wasn't drinking our water then.
I like.
Yeah.
Got any questions on?
Just flip the resupply valve from the sewer side to the water side. We don't like-
Again.
we don't like to talk about that.
Why are we so low in the current year for the health insurance expense? 65,090-57.
So
Oh, it's pretty close to the 21, 22.
You're looking at purple.
Oh,
That's where we're at right now.
I see what you're saying.
Employees are just so healthy.
no,
Uh,
it had to be within. When the employees leaving,
Yes,
and we had employees leave and then we were short staffed there for just a little bit. And kind of got behind on COVID, so ahead of it, whichever way. Yeah, we had an employee leave that was high
Yes.
during the fiscal year.
It was Ricky.
there was one rookie left.
So,
Have we backfilled that position then, or was his rate just higher than everyone else?
well, his rates were higher, but we had backfilled that position also. I mean, it's there, we replaced that position, so.
There might be a little bit of room there then. Not much, a little bit.
Yeah, maybe a hair. Maybe a hair. Any more questions?
On that water plant, I guess sewer plant also, when are when are those scheduled? The bonds that I assume
So,
were sold.
So part of trying to move it around, trying to keep the city out of bankruptcy in 2015. We were able to pay those bonds off for the water plant. So those are put where it's at. The wastewater plant. Well, I hate to answer that. I think it's 32 or 33. Is when that gets retired, maybe 34. It's in that area right there. Those get retired.
Are we good on the water intake side of that sludge disposal thing with,
We are.
got that resolved?
We got it resolved.
How's everything else down there? Everything good? They need anything? It's good.
I think we've, worked with the department heads and. I think that we're okay. I mean, there's always work to do.
Yeah.
Where it's at, and we're trying to update some of our telemetry. And where it's at, and part of that is in 65,750. Where that 15,000's at.
Yep.
There's some money there. We're trying to update some of the telemetry, and so far we've done some. It's been really good for the operators, be better operators.
Good. Well, if it's stuff they need,
Right.
definitely bring it up.
Right. What about? So that's at the wastewater plant. With that said, and now we'll talk about that in the next page. Okay.
Is that, I see the intake maintenance. Would be way down. Is that, did we have to replace something?
So intake maintenance, we had to replace, I think in the past year, we had to replace 2 pumps. Or 2 vertical turbine pumps that run down through there. We had to replace those, and that was junk. Yeah. That was junk. So we feel like, after replacing those, we're in pretty good shape down there for this coming year.
For a while.
We hope so. We hope so. So over on the wastewater income budget, this is where you see And most of your operating capital come in for sewer that's filled.
What is leaching?
Okay, so leachate, from time to time, you'll see a truck out behind Jug, sometimes on 30th Street. So the landfill is required by DNR to pull so much water out of landfill. And it depends on the rains, to get how much they have to haul. So they haul in, we make them go to the west end of town. For dilution, just overabundance of caution. Something would happen and then they pay us, I think it's 2 cents a gallon.
Is that good? It's bad? That's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, that, most of the water they bring in, I think Richie would back it up and way better than what we're treating. Through there, it's way cleaner.
No kidding.
Yeah,
it's just basically rainwater.
None of that leachates, not all of the leachates, what comes off the landfill.
I knew Danny did it, but I didn't know.
Passes through the ground into their collection points.
Right.
So
8,000.
Dan, I can get it tonight.
I would much rather have the leachate that we take than the septic.
Yep.
Like the septic pump, the pumpers bring in, it doesn't have anything close to the BOD load that that septic does.
Right.
Not even close. So, anything else on the income? So I want to answer Bill's question on the truck. And I did not originally, you can see I did not originally put the money in for the truck because until we switched that position, we were tight and actually didn't have enough to be able to budget. And we can do one of two things. We've got that 24,000 projected surplus. We can either go on and budget some money for a used truck there, or we can wait until the mid-year and budget it. I'm fine with either way we want to go with that.
Are we?
Yeah. But we use nothing.
Needs a 4-wheel drive. And in the middle of the winter. Still driving an old truck with 2-wheel drive, I'd say. Go ahead and move on it and get a decent vehicle.
So, you know, so then we can handle that either way. I can either change it here, or we can just approve it and get caught up with mid-year budget. If we can catch it up at mid-year budget, that saves us, I mean, if everybody looks like they're gonna be okay with the majority of this, it just saves us from reprinting and doing a bunch of stuff, and we just have to remember.
Well, that way it'll give you a chance to get the actual number, do some look and find what we need.
It will
How
show.
much you want. I'd like to run code enforcement, and deals are hard to find.
Yeah.
We got pretty lucky.
I would say let's move on and get it down. I'd make-
Right.
You think?
It possibly could be, so. This time we'll make sure we have full coverage on it. So, oh, yeah.
I mean, I'd like to make a motion to go ahead and move on that. On the
I think
truck
we're
and
in
then
a-
catch up.
We're in a work study.
Well, that's right. Felt like this.
Man, that was great.
Saw it slide it through.
Okay, any other questions on this one? Our office. Oh, no income. This is one of the pages I believe that we replaced. Had to replace for you. After we had everything figured out on how we were gonna pay. You'll see at the very bottom, just above the total water office expenditures, there's your number coming out for that number that come in on the city side to help reimburse the city for the position.
That's the miscellaneous stuff.
7,853.50.
That's the one.
That's from that other section that,
Remember the other section where I talked about the
I
reimbursement?
thought you were reading me a line number.
I'm sorry, line number 65.
So what line are you
2745.
talking about? Yeah, you read me the number, yeah. I guess so.
Kelly, in addition to that, has there been some staff reassignment, so to speak, that would explain that regular salaries being lower than what we're gonna finish this year?
I believe so. So what you have to remember is that you had a long time person who was in the water office and she had left. And now we have a person coming in there and basically that's probably not gonna be at quite the scale that the longtime person was, and you're only paying half.
Makes sense.
So that's in the policy, if you accumulate so many sick days, instead of just going out, I think they pay at a rate, I think it's $25 a day for all of them that you were gonna lose. So that's what the benefit buyout is. Any more questions on that department? If not, we'll move over to the debt service. So I'm gonna take just a little time here and I'll try to run through it really quick. As you go down, I have some notes, the capital improvement income. That's 5% of just your water on your bill. The LT2 debt service, that's a fixed rate of $4.03 a month per water user. The wastewater debt service income is 0.0388362 per cubic foot sanitary sewer.
what we had in that email, wasn't it?
Was it? Yeah, it is. You see the line below that 36,000. That's where we're taking that out to pay the city. 36, I say we, Enterprise is paying the city. So.
So I see that in a couple of different spots. So what's the total that the city is receiving?
You're receiving 36 for that original agreement, that pre-2015 agreement. And then you're receiving the 7,800 for half of that position. Half that collector.
It showed up as a income. Income, that's where it showed up. That's all right, that's, okay, I got it.
Okay.
So, yeah, okay, thank you.
The I&I debt service is $3.06 per sewer user. The Georgia Street water debt service is $4.66 per user. The Georgia Street sewer debt service is $5.04 per sewer user. So that's kind of whenever you see all that gobbledygook on your bill, I mean, that's where it's all wrapped up.
And that's basically where the minimum fee comes from. Basically, it's all of those things that even if you don't use any water.
Yeah,
That's right, that's right.
You still get a bill and this is. what-
Yep.
So all of our bills are gonna go up? Sorry for talking on this.
No. So, as I understand what Kelly was saying, there were various projects that required loans or something of some sort. And the way that those are paid off is by a fixed fee on the bill. And so like, if you're hooked up, but you don't use any water, you still have a water bill. There's sort of a minimum amount, and it's constructed out of all of these different debt service fees that we've got here. The way that these are listed, and Kelly's given, $4 for this, $6 for that, that's where that sort of minimum fee, even if you don't use water, comes from.
Yeah, I just, on some of our bills, it's like $17 for this and $10 for that. And
I
we was
mean,
kind of wondering if this is that.
you put it all together, and I mean, it's those that I'm giving you, and some of those you have up, and it's there. But I do, Nick, I do think the proper answer is that to make this budget work, like ordinance, like consumer price index,
What?
rate raises, there is gonna be a rate. There is gonna be a raise rate.
So where Nick said, no, there's no raise, there actually is.
Not from this.
Not from what I'm reading.
Yeah, the things he's reading are not a rate,
But you said yes?
but
Ordinance right
this
there.
month, there will be a new ordinance relating to that.
This,
So I'm confused. Everybody's saying something different. So the water bill is going up.
yes.
Yes, but not now. Pursuant to an ordinance when we have our regular meeting. Basically, yes.
But the reason I ran through that is to try to help explain, because people's always asking about the water bills, and you have to have a water bill this long with all the different line items, so I was just I went through that to try to help explain what those charges are.
So why are they going up? What is that? It's going up for what? To pay for what?
So operating expense.
But
So
we,
that'll be, we'll have that on, it should be this next Monday. I believe we've already got some.
because I just got a letter last week saying that the water wasn't drinkable. So why do I pay more for not drinkable water?
Well, that letter, I don't think said that it wasn't drinkable. It said
No.
that there was, what was, I don't remember exactly the details. It was related to the flooding, right?
It's related to the flooding, it's an elevation of the THMs, where it's at.
The THMs.
So Richie, you wanna address that?
Trihalomethanes are reaction when you feed chlorine to organic matter and it reacts. And we are on the Mississippi River. We have a lot of organic matter. Our plant is 20 years old. When the plant was built, the limits were way low, so it passed. And now the DNR has raised the limits and it's hard to make them because the plant wasn't built for that. If we was on well water, we wouldn't have a problem.
But along Mississippi. Along that point, I think I've been on for 4 years, we were having trouble, most reporting periods meeting that. Staff, city staff that operates the plant took some measures to improve the, those readings and did so very successfully. But because of what Richie just said, where we're located, what our water source is, when you have a slug of extra organic matter down the river, there's just that much more to process, and that's what triggered our PHM.
Okay, anything else on debt service? Do you see anything on there that you have questions about?
I have a question, if we have an ordinance on the raise stuff, are we going to use some of that money to improve our facility?
So again, this budget has been figured with that raise, and most of it is operational.
Right.
Is where it's at. We are. I'm working with an engineering firm now that we're trying to go even further. There's some rescue fund money that the state is basically, they're not gonna use. So we're gonna go after some funds, some of those funds, where we can get them and see if we can help. And it's little stuff like trying to put a stir in the big tank on Stark Hill. This telemetry that we're getting is gonna try to help regulate, and I don't want you guys to death, but try to regulate some levels. In the summer, we don't want to keep our levels a lot of reserve in that hot tank. We want that water fresh to move on because that helps facilitate the THM. In fact, just different things like that that go down the line. I mean, whenever we've redone our filter medias and things, again, it helped immensely. But there's still things out in the system that we've been,
Along that line, there's some money in here that Kelly's probably gonna get to from the American Rescue Fund. The first go around it's
But all that money has already been dedicated for the sanitary sewer.
Exactly.
You're all right.
But it's money that's in the budget to help
Yeah.
make capital improvements rather than operations.
Yeah. Yeah.
Water thing?
So as far as your individual departments, that is it.
Just to go back, and as far as the wastewater debt service reserves, what's our balances on our wastewater debt service reserves?
So it is, and it's a good question to ask. At one time, and it's still pretty close to it, I think that we had almost a double full year's payment.
Which would be about what?
Was it 3? Hang on a minute. Tell you, it's right here.
And this is 45.152. I'm talking about
Get down to
the wastewater debt services income, or which one is this?
Well, I mean,
right.
that's what triggered. I just want to know what the reserve was because I know we're pulling from it
Yeah.
to put it in as income.
Right.
No. I think anyway.
And we're not, since that's.
So your payments are about 244,800 a year.
So if that's debt service reserve, restricted fund, right? But we're gonna use it to pay back the city.
We did, but we got an okay from the auditors because there was a lot of extra that got put in there that was not supposed to be in there. So we could have paid them all back at one time, what they were, or spread it out at the time. Everybody decided that because it was stimulus and the city had just come out of a big ordeal pre-2015, that they wanted to do this payment to make sure that everything was okay.
Do we have, just off the wall question, do we have that laid out from the original, how that's supposed to be done? You know, I mean, do we have a document, this is what we're doing and why? It's in the.
Yeah, I think, Charity, don't you still have a letter from our auditors on this payback?
Well, it's listed in our audit every year.
Well, that's true. That's true.
I just don't want to lose sight of
I mean,
the
we
process
can
of why we
probably
do
go back to the original, probably 2015 or 2016 audit. And it's probably, that would be the beginning in there, and they would probably be a little more expansive on the description.
it. Okay.
Anything else?
I got a few things, but I think I don't want to get ahead of you.
Go ahead and fire. Go ahead and fire. We'll go from there.
Okay. So talking about salaries,
Yes.
so I don't want to
And
get
we
ahead
go,
of you.
that's, I believe everybody has that sheet. I'm ready for it.
Okay,
That's all we got left.
I got, there is one thing I want to kind of bring up that I know the fire chief brought up bringing up a side by side and budget that, and he explained it to me a lot clearer what his intent is. And since he's not here, I'm not going to talk for him, but I'm going to definitely invite him to come to the council meeting and talk about it. He's got a pretty good plan and pretty good reasoning and a way forward to utilize it. So I'm not going to speak on his behalf.
But one thing that if it's, and it's still saying that I do think that you may have to take up in May is that he said he thought he was gonna have 8, 9, 10,000 left over in his budget, which is not right. Is that, did he talk to you about that?
Yeah,
And,
that's,
and then it would take council action to allow him to carry that over for that. So
Right.
that's something you keep in mind.
so, yeah, basically, probably if it was to work and do that, he'd probably have to do it before this new budget takes effect.
Well, I think if you just, well, leave it okay, and you just set that, what's left over in this budget back and restrict it to the purchase of that unit whenever he gets it. Is whenever he gets
It won't hurt his budget going forward as far as the funds that come
it.
in.
Well, I believe that what he had, the plan that he presented me, as long as he keeps it down to the number that he had. Because he was gonna work it within this budget that is already here, was my understanding.
So he emailed
So he
me that.
presented it to me, as long as he got to keep his leftover money. So so the only trigger that, I guess the two things is the council doing that, allowing him to do that, and him keeping that purchase at or below that number that he shot.
What's his cutoff?
Budget's got $10,000 more. And this, was last
Maybe, of the. No, it's about $265. Budget, last year's budget was $87,584.60. And the budget this year is $87,834.87.
wrong line, I might have got $70,000 line.
Okay.
He's got some, but there are some, I may be wrong, he's got some, police purchase stuff that's expiring, sunsetting.
So,
Yeah,
right,
training.
I can tell you what that is, if you give me just a second. So on August 31st, he's got a SCBA. Looks like for a total of principal interest of $4,889.19. And then, of course, the fire truck, which there's $16,660.80. That makes almost $8,000. Now, he may have.
So I'm looking at 60.650-21 and looking historically over the last couple of years, or at least this bit.
So, Charity, did he retire this SCBA? Please
Just
purchase.
look at your screen that.
Well, it's stated for,
Bunker, I think we just got the bunker here on, then let me look at this one.
the budget we was done with what we put in.
Fire department. It's
No,
the vehicle and
that's
equipment
the not-
expenses.
Okay, so I think what he was gonna, was he going to? I didn't know, if I remember his plan right, Tim, can you help me here? His plan right called for taking some money out of some other line items and putting it toward the remainder, didn't he?
So the simple description that was given to me that I can recall, I hate speaking on his behalf, but he roughly has $10,000 left over in this budget. The side by side is $18,000. He'd like to use $10,000 to go towards that and then do a 3-year lease purchase on the remaining balance. That one of his current lease purchases is expiring.
Is expiring, but I think that he was gonna set it up so the payment wouldn't come out. That first payment would be the next fiscal year, which you can do.
Yeah, and so the bottom line is his budget's not going to change.
Right.
But he gets side by side. So now as far as justifying the need for the side by side and all that, he has to talk on that behalf. I don't, that's his fault. But he explained it to me a little bit more and it wasn't going to be any further burden, other than what his budget already is. But I'm not going to speak on his behalf, but I just want to kind of throw that out there.
I just want to make sure, as part of that, that all of the vital training equipment and everything is not put to the side for quiet.
Well,
And he will explain that's better in a meeting.
Yeah.
and
You know,
everybody can-
I'm gonna talk about toys versus equipment, but that's, you
Well,
know,
that's his.
that's his deal, so.
Yeah.
Okay, what else, what anybody like to get into?
Salaries.
Yeah.
Nick, what is the estimated increase on the CPI? For the, since you're gonna be presenting this ordinance, what's your estimate increase? Kelly, do you have the detail on that?
I do not have it in front of me.
Oh, yeah, I don't either, I can get it out. Want to know? Yeah, it's like, yeah, it's gonna be on, it's gonna be on. What's the projected increase in, what's your projected income increase as a result of it? I mean, I can do the math and have a hard time.
So here,
COLA went up 7.9%. Were you gonna go that route or what?
Right.
7.5 of late.
Take a look.
Kathy Smith still gets paid?
Let's,
No.
let's stay on task with our budget work session.
so here's the thing on that, Mike. We did receive some information from Kelly, and we had that for the council to review, and it will have to be presented in ordinance form, right,
Right.
for any changes. So to Councilman Dolbear's point, we'll post that, and I'm not even sure if this is the final or not. And this may be the final, but is it the final?
As far as I'm concerned, well, I don't know what you have, I think,
Just what you emailed us.
I can't remember honestly if I'd sent that before, memory put it in ordinance form or not.
I mean, I got an ordinance here attached.
Yeah, okay, yeah, it's final. There should be two ordinances there.
I'll let you.
It does have something to do with the budget because the figures have already been adjusted, taking that into consideration, correct?
That's correct.
All right, so I'm staying on point. We're discussing the budget. Just
But we aren't
make sure we
sure.
understand that. It's fine.
Salaries.
Yeah, where you wanna go with it?
So what are we doing with salaries?
So, you know, we talked about, we updated the scale. Where it's at, and I mean, it's pretty well across the board, everybody, I mean, some was, by the way, the scale come out was got a little, and some got pretty good little lip.
So the concern, I don't want to classify it as a concern. A point of discussion with a cost of living, I think the employees and the wages, I think they do need to come up. I mean, you're absolutely dead on as far as our wages for our city employees. I think, if nothing else, I think a general average as far as percentage should be weighed out, and so we can put out our salaries increased by whatever percent it is, whatever it weighs out to be. It's 4.5% or whatever it is. Just so for transparency for the community, say, hey, we got salary increases of whatever that average is. Versus the high versus the low. One thing about it is as far as the merit-based side of it, and I haven't seen it in our personnel files, and I know this is a new scale and classification of class 1, 2, and class 3 based on supervisors' evaluation of the employee. The only concern I have is for the city employees not being aware of such a system being in place and being given a raise based off of that, that's already passed, years passed, and we're giving you a raise based off that, without even having it in our personnel manual, as far as this is how we're gonna evaluate you now, you know what I'm saying? So with that in mind, I would almost, you know, I don't disagree with the merit-based, you know, as far as performance-based. But I'd rather see, me personally, would see the employees being made aware of that for the upcoming year. And that way they know they are gonna be evaluated, they are gonna hold them.
I would hope that the employees would work like they had a merit base all the time, whether
Yeah.
they do it or not.
Yeah.
Is what I would hope.
And I agree, but since we don't have it in a personnel policy or pay scale, and we're implementing it and getting raises right off the jump with the new budget year. I mean, I would, you know, I'm hesitant on that, just because for fairness and for, you know, communications for the employees and so forth, but I mean, I'd almost lead to that average increase for everyone, you know, if it can be balanced out.
Well,
But-
but you know, the merit base, I mean, there's kind of three things here to this. You know, there's three components to this, and the merit base is just one small components to it. I mean, talked about really the newest thing, there's the longevity scale we put.
And I'm all for the longevity.
Is where it's at. So on the merit base, what I consider the merit base, you know, you're between 10 and 50 cents as part of that.
Is it 10 or was it like 50 cents, 30 cents and
10,
was it 10?
10, 30.
So, you know, it's on, if they just mediocre, they get the 10% or 10 cents. Or they're high performing, they get 50 cents, you know, that's on 2,080 hours a year, that's $1,000, you know, $1,040, you know. Like I said, you know, that's just my thought, it's gonna be the council's, you know, decision on, you know, on that, but I am all for the merit-based system, I just wish that we can implement the system before we implement the raises based on the merit system. So just that way the employees have solid footing and understanding you're being evaluated daily.
So
Even though they should know that now, but it's not based on a salary increase right now or a pay.
You have to figure out, set that bar, you know.
So
where to start.
So you're talking about taking out just that section of the raise, not the rest of it.
I'm not, what I'd rather do is whatever we budgeted for that raise for the merit, that class 1, class 2, class 3, average it out and spread it out between all the employees. And then put it in our personnel manual that we are going to start initiating or implementing a merit performance-based raise, class 1, 2, and 3, just like you proposed. I'm all for it. It's just, I'd rather the employees know about it before just jumping out on a new budget year and they get it. Well, everyone's going to tell, you know, I know how this works. I've been a city employee, you know, 20 something years of my life. So everyone knows everything. And there's a little bit of arbitration as far as, you know, or the feeling or the perception of arbitration as far as decisions, who gets raised and who doesn't. But because right now, you know, if I was to ask any of our supervisors, all right, show me the performance evaluations that you've conducted throughout the year, or are you just doing it now before the new budget comes out? Well, I guarantee it, 90% of it, it's based on my opinion right now, not necessarily what happened the previous 12 months. So at least if it's in the policy and the expectations there, then there's no excuse as far as the performance rating. At least the employee can interact with the supervisor or their supervisor, periodically, if they meet quarterly, and they meet semi-annually. Hey, you know, you're doing good, stay on track, or hey, you can do this and improve. That's all I'm getting. I'll quit talking about that.
I guess I see the merit in the evaluation, and I also see the merit, and if there's a way that something could be that would be added to the policy manual that states a, you know, specific period of evaluation. I mean, I don't see that there's anything wrong with basing a portion of the raise based on merit. I mean, obviously, all of us that have a job know that our performance is evaluated, but I certainly don't, you know, I don't see a problem with spelling it out going forward. I mean, it's difficult to define, you know, it's not like we're all, you know, we're making widgets. So if you make 50 widgets, you know, you're in class 1, 55 in class 2, but I don't know. I guess I'm okay with portion of the raise myself being merit based. I mean, but you know, I don't see any harm in having any language in the policy manual that says, you know, but we don't want to lock. We also don't want to lock into. There will be evaluations made, but it doesn't mean necessarily that we'll have funds for merit-based raises on an annual basis. Hope, you know, it'd be nice if we did, but it's not, we don't want to lock ourselves into that.
Oh, I think this is kind of one time that where that scale's at right now on that portion of it.
Yeah.
It'll always be the 10, 30, or 50. You know, as long as you're holding that high side.
Yeah.
It's gonna be 50. If you slip back, it might knock you down to 30. Or it might knock you down to 10 of that portion of your salary.
When you do evaluations once a year, or how's that
They
work?
should be, and they don't get done. I mean, once a year is what we've always done. I mean, they've always done them right before budget.
The department heads then meet with the reason for the tier they fall in
It's
is.
been the last few years, it has been hit, yes, I mean, as far as.
Hasn't been the same normal last few years anyway with COVID and shit.
Inflation's coming, gas is high, food's high, everything's high.
Well, I will say this, I'm glad that we've looked at it. So we're in competition for our help. I mean, we're to get and keep good help. And I spoke with a local manufacturing company. They bumped their starting scale 42%. And what he had told me that he did, he went to comparable businesses in the area and went about 18% over what they found as the average. So they could, because they couldn't field staff. You know, he told me, he said, the manager told me, he said, I told my boss, I'm not gonna hire anybody. Here's the people who are applying. This is what we have to choose from, and I'm not gonna do it. So that, my point being, I'm glad that we're looking at it, and we have to, because you know, it's good that there's competition. Unfortunately, we're kind of on the side that we have to rise to that level as best we can to be competitive.
So, yeah, I agree, and we do need to, and it's not a discredit to our supervisors as far as what they believe, who deserves what it is. I'm giving the benefit of the doubt to the employees to be aware of what our process is and what our policy is, instead of just coming out, you know, cold with it. But I'll stop it there back, because I had three more things dealing with pay and salaries. So just so the council knows, out of all the municipals in the state of Missouri, 92% of all cities in the state of Missouri do not pay out health benefits if they elect not to take it. We do. Just something for the council to consider. You can check with the MML Municipal League. So basically, if someone's offered health insurance, you don't accept it, we currently pay them out that benefit monthly. So 92% of the cities don't do. Holiday pay, I know for the police department is $65 a month. I would make a proposal to the council, and I'll make a proposal to the council to push it up to 100 for when they work a holiday. Okay. That $65 thing hasn't changed for how many years, Kelly?
Tim, but the way that's paid, it isn't whether they work a holiday or not. They get that paid regardless on top of their regular wages.
So that might be another thing that we need to consider, because I believe if you work the holiday, you should get the holiday.
The holiday itself is considered part of the 40. And we get $65 in addition to it. So where the regular city employees would get that 8 hours off, we work that 8 hours, so we get $65 for it. If it falls on a day off that we're not working that holiday, we get $65 for that holiday.
Yes.
All right, so that may be something to take into consideration. I didn't look on that side of it. Charity, thank you.
Yep.
Also, the housing allowance, the police department received. I tried to find a policy on that, and I believe the last we gathered is probably back in '96, when that policy was implemented, give a housing, and that's to all of our officers, right? And speaking with the chief, it'd almost be better off if you take $85 a month and figure it up, well, that's gonna be a year. It'd be better off just go ahead and just eliminate that and just increase their base rate. Just eliminate the house. It's tit for tat, but at least it'll be more of a bottom dollar that a new recruit looking at it will be more enticed to apply here. And it'll bring us, correct me if I'm wrong, it'll bring us up closer to our other Pike County agencies.
It comes out to about 50 cents an hour, Mayor. You get $85 a month for living in towns. And most departments have done away, like a lot of the smaller departments have done away with it, because a lot of people don't want to move and they do travel. And speaking with our officers, most of them would prefer to live close. And if they did not reside within a certain amount, we wouldn't do like a take-home car or anything for them. So there would be other benefits that are enticed for that.
So is there a budget? What line item or account does that come out? As
It
far
comes out of officer housing. It has its own line item.
What line item is that?
I don't have the budget in front of me.
Here.
Because it was busted out.
$58.
85. Line item budget, whether they live in town or not.
I mean, I have it on the back.
60, right? 50.
Part of it.
Is it one street or after streets?
Right before streets.
All right.
And it's on the screen.
Yeah,
Okay, what would you say it again?
60.058.
58. Okay, I see it. So 6,120. And we got 7.
So yeah, it's budgeted for 7 officers at $85 a month.
That's including you.
And yes,
So it'd be 6 officers.
no, 7 with 6 and me. Yes.
You get a housing allowance too?
It's budgeted in, yes.
Whatever, as long as we don't change that budget line item.
Yeah, well, that's something I was gonna say, I need to ask Charity is, I know that it's reportable, but do they pay loggers and workman's comp on that housing allowance, Charity?
yes.
Okay, so it sounds like Bridge is taken care of already, so it wouldn't change.
So it'd just be just all we're doing is eliminating housing and
At 168 hours roughly a month, it comes out to $80 And then it is $85 for that, theoretically speaking. You're looking at roughly $1 difference, and that would be to the city's better side.
Would we have any issues with, let's say, overtime then?
That would actually be figured at time and a half. And then it would be 75 cents. You know, you would, like, if you had over that hours and they got overtime, you would still have that salary at time and a half, and there would be an uptick there.
Well, maybe we can get together with Kelly and find that middle ground,
Yeah, I mean,
not an
yeah,
impact on our budget. No surprises, right?
no, totally.
That's all I have. Did we, I mean, can you do it just for me, Kelly? Figure out just what an average increase would be across the board?
No, I think let's define that a little bit, because we have an increase based on, the one increase based on, like, for example, their licenses that they hold. Yes, they have it. Then you have the longevity increase. Oh, you're talking about all the, so you're not on just the merit part, you're on all of it.
I'm on, yeah, just on, and that way we can, you know. I don't want to complicate it any further than what it could be.
Whenever you were scrolling through there and you had the salaries up there, it looked like Tina Fisher was still like at $11.15 an hour. Isn't that minimum wage right now?
It is, and I will defer to her department head on that.
Because, I mean, isn't she like more valuable to you than, I mean, the work she takes off here? Wouldn't that equivalent to more than
Who are we talking about? I would
Tina
say.
Fisher?
Okay. Well, please.
$11.15 an hour for the work that she puts in.
Without a work study, I wouldn't really be able to give that.
Where all the other clerks in City Hall make more than that.
Well, the workload that she used to do for the department is not the workload that she does anymore. I will say that. And I don't think it's fair to give an answer without doing a work study.
What would that be?
Work study usually involves, like, and I'm sure everybody knows this, work studies usually show how many aspects of something, go forward with it. And you grade that particular work style, like you give it a value of 1 to 4. If it's something that is like, let's say something that a license would require, you might give it a 4. If it's something like processing paperwork or something, you would give it a value of 1 through 4 for each one of the line items on the study. And then we would do it from there. That's what works.
Does she still take calls?
I mean, obviously, people call the police department, so calls are taken. Does she take?
does all the paperwork.
I don't know what all the paperwork.
Everything she.
He said.
No, the duties change.
all the years she's put in? That doesn't count.
No, I'm not saying it does. That goes to the work study. All that's in a work study. It's not really, and this is my opinion, it's not really fair to ask a question like that without reviewing what all it entails.
No, I just, it's not somebody to look.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and I believe in work studies. I've done house.
So just to address that a little bit, change it a little bit, I spoke with Tina about that, and I think she does deserve a raise, you know, right? Now, she got a raise when the minimum wage went up by, you know, how long ago was that? I'm not sure how long ago it was, but definitely, if we're looking at raises, the biggest thing that I think this body can do is just do it as fair and consistent as we can. And I know there's some difference between enterprise funds and our general funds as far as where our resources come from. But that's kind of falls back into what I was asking the council just a minute ago, as far as trying to balance out what we do, the best that we can do with the different revenue streams we have. So
And the other question I had, he had that bullet up there whenever he went to the Durango and then it said 2 Chargers. 2 Dodge Charger vehicles.
Yeah, so that was just a note myself that we were kicking around. I don't think that there's enough. Number one, the chargers are out.
You still can't order them.
Yeah, Dodge killed.
Yeah, they're out. That was just a note that I have to look at figures, but I think that everybody in the room saw that after you make that Durango payment, is what's left over. There's not enough for 2 new vehicles there unless rural development will come in and, really help with offset a lot of the costs.
And that is being looked at, Kelly. It's already been started.
Yeah.
Some USDA.
And as far as the new Durango, like, 'cause I don't know the numbers of anything.
We can get
But-
over.
But when we spoke to you about purchasing one that we did purchase, it was, we had to buy the cheapest thing possible at the time.
I don't recall it that way. What I recall is that it started
We started
with
with the
one
Durango
vehicle
for the truck.
and that it was whatever you guys could get a hold of it.
Well,
That's how I recall it.
It did start with the Charger and the same thing happened to us. We couldn't get them. We were close to, too many people ordered them and we couldn't get them. And then it went to,
What'd you say, Corey?
too many people were ordering them and we couldn't.
Yeah,
we fell
I
off.
remember something along
Yeah,
those lines.
so then it was between the Explorer and the Durango. And the price difference between the Explorer and Durango was about $4,000. So that's why we went with the Durango, because it's on the cheaper end.
And it was more readily available, correct? Even than the other one. I can't remember.
But it was all money decided.
Well, so with that, I mean, we're getting ready. I mean, it's a work session, so we're about done with it, but, we'll talk to you a little bit more about that, because some of that we're just talking about history, right? And moving forward, so we need to just talk, and I want to get your point of view on that a little bit more in depth. Des, you had something?
Yeah, the city council, are they for like the city? Are they here to help us? Or what? I just throwing that out there.
Right, so.
Are they, I mean, they get paid, so are they working for us? To help us and the city, or are they just looking out
So
for?
here's the
the
thing
city.
with, and I can answer that. So, we're elected to represent our constituents,
Mhm.
right? And so the biggest thing that we have, if there's a feeling of non-transparency, we need to make it transparent.
Mhm.
And sometimes it's hard, that communication chain is kind of hard, especially when we're in a formal or informal process up here at this table. So best thing that we can do is try to be open and communicate what we're doing and what our intentions are. So I believe everyone up there.
That
has-
doesn't answer the question. So they work for the city or they work for, for the people?
Right, it's the common good of the city and the residents of their wards.
Okay, because the residents can't even get hold of none of them. So to me, it's like they work for themselves and do whatever they want
I don't feel,
to the city.
I don't feel like saying they can't get a hold of any of them is true, because there's some that are.
Googled it with you beside me today.
You can.
You can't even see the webpage. You can't get a hold of it.
Well, that's.
And I try to get a hold of Nancy, I don't know how many times. If I go to your house, are you gonna call the cops, or how do I get a hold of you? And him, I don't even know his name.
Bill?
Bill, hi, Bill. But you can't get a hold of Nancy.
Well, let's, we're done. You can speak to them right now after this meeting, or catch them on the way out.
Oh, was there any extra money? Cause like the water is undrinkable. Most people in this town does not drink the water. So is there any extra money to fix that? So our water bills don't go up?